A day to remember for the rest of your lives.
There's a great promise for all of you.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame and Extreme Networks present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program. With nearly 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 48 states around this country, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans how to huddle up during a time when we need to be united.
It's time for America to take a real deep dive. Not at no one else, but at yourself individually. If you want to change America, don't brush your teeth with your head down. Look at who you are and be the example. Be the example.
An opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. Single-parent homes, drug-infested neighborhoods, and poverty.
I grew up in a neighborhood that was considered one of the worst in America, and the household I grew up in was one of the worst in that neighborhood. By the time I was 20 years old, I knew at least 30 friends or family members who had lost their lives. Football became like a second parent to me. It taught me the things that my father wasn't there to teach me, and that my mother, as a struggling, single-parent woman, just didn't know to teach me.
But they learn how to live a life of character before pursuing their football careers. Today, you will learn you can do the same that they once did. Making good decisions can lead to a prosperous life both on and off the field. Your game for life has already begun. It's your decision whether or not you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
Every one of you can have a Hall of Fame life, whether or not you play football. You can be as great as you want to be. The Hall of Fame is all about integrity, character, and excellence. You have the opportunity to represent yourself that way. You determine your character.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, The Heart of a Hall of Famer.
This became my first goal, and now here I am, 27 years later, standing in Canton, Ohio, accepting this incredible honor. From high school through college to the final game of my career, my goal never wavered. It has always been to be the very best I can be. Hear what I'm saying, the very best I can be, not simply in football, but in life. Throughout, the Hall of Fame was the pinnacle, my Matterhorn, which I strive to ascend. I never spoke to anybody about my goals, but it fueled the fire inside me that I unleashed in every game I played. My name in the Hall of Fame will stand as a lasting reminder, a message that no matter how humble a man's beginnings, success in achieving one's highest goal is possible if you have the courage to truly believe and the integrity to work as hard as you possibly can to sustain the mental and physical stamina that is required, not just for one season, but for an entire career.
All right, and with that, I'd like to welcome everybody back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another edition of our Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer program, powered by our great partners at Extreme Networks. Today, featuring Gold Jacket, class of 2016 member, and who's right here with us in Canton, Ohio, Mr. Orlando Pace. Now, before we get to our special guest today, just a few things to go over, a little bit about us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. First off, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager here at the Hall of Fame. I'm super excited to be moderating and getting to ask some questions to one of the greatest to ever step on the gridiron. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. Those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which not only make our Hall of Famers great men on the field, They make them even better men off the field, great sons, fathers, brothers, whatever members of their community, whatever it might be. These 5 values and so many more truly shape our men into men of character and pretty good football players at the same time. I'm excited to hear how these values today impacted Mr. Pace's career, both on and off the field. And it's going to be cool. You're going to hear these values pop up in a lot of the answers. And it just goes to show that how important these values are to somebody's career, either on or off the football field. Now, before we do get started, I do have some thank yous that I got to pass out. First off, I want to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks for everything they do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, everything they do for this Heart of a Hall of Famer program. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to talk to you guys today. So thank you for everything you do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers, administrators, educators, anybody who allowed us to come into your classroom today. We know this school year has been a crazy one, and there's so many different ways that we've had to adjust and adapt to learning. And so we're just very fortunate that you allowed us to be a small part of your school year today. And then lastly, got to thank our students, both who are, we have our classrooms tuned in today, as well as all of those students who are watching us via the YouTube live stream, where, this program doesn't happen today without you guys. You guys get to ask the questions. You guys get to kind of start the dialogue with our special guest today. So we're really looking forward. I know I am. I know Orlando is as well. Looking forward to all the great questions that you guys have today. So if you're watching us in person and you're in the classroom connected in today, be ready to ask questions. We're going to be coming to you guys throughout the program. If you're watching us on YouTube and you're watching the live stream, put your question in the chat function there. Let us know what school you go to, what's your name, and what's your question, and we'll do our best to make that as part of the program. So enough from me. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our special guest today, Gold Jacket Hall of Famer, Mr. Orlando Pace. Orlando, welcome to the program today.
Thanks for having me. It's such an honor to be here and to talk about some of the values, some of the core values that I've learned growing up through my childhood up into collegiate football, to professional football, and now into the Hall of Fame. So I'm excited to be here and to share those same values with you guys out there in the classroom, and hopefully you can take some of these values and use the same values in your life every day.
Well, we definitely appreciate you being here. I know we're super excited to hear how those values impacted your career. So let's start right there. Those 5 values we talked about: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. Out of those 5, is there one that you kind of held with more importance or higher than others throughout your career? Or do you kind of view them all as on the same level and they all have their own specific importance?
You know what, for me, I view them all the same, because at different phases throughout my life, each one of them pulled from me. You had to pull from each one. You had to be committed, all those things in order to be successful, not only in the National Football League or sports or football in general, but just in life. You'll pull on some of those same core values, the commitment, everything that it takes to be successful in anything you want to do in life. I think it's important to have those same core values. So I view them all the same. No one is more important than the other. So I think throughout my career and being successful, all those values played a huge part in me being a Hall of Famer.
Now looking back on your career, is there a moment when you felt like your character was tested, or a moment in a game or a season or, the playoff push, where those values really had to come to the forefront and really show how important that they are to not only make you, a Hall of Famer, but make your team better, make your teammates work well together, work well with the coaching staff? Is there a moment that sticks out to you regarding that?
Just for me, obviously when character comes into play, I think I always go back to a saying: are you doing everything correct when nobody is watching? And for us in 1999 to win a Super Bowl, not only did we have to work well and do everything right on the field, but off the field, we enjoyed putting in the work and enjoying the process to be successful, in the hard work and dedication and all those things that made us a champion that season. That was huge. So and one thing I realized in being in a locker room with other players and teammates and things like that is they respect you on how hard your commitment to the game. Obviously, that can't be cheated. Teammates see that, and that level of respect that they gain from you just for everything that you've done. It really makes your team a big part of the team at that point. So throughout all phases, every phase I could go, obviously where my character has been questioned, not questioned, I shouldn't say, but you had to pull it out. Even in high school, when I was in junior high, just obviously, there's a good group of kids, there's a bad group of kids. In order for me to be successful, I had to go down the right path and understand that there's a bigger picture out there for me outside of just, making bad choices and decisions and things like that. So that was a huge part of where character really played a big part of my young athletic career.
I think that's very cool. And, we talk about, and a lot of the examples we're going to give today are about the game of football and life on the field. But all those things you just talked about there can be applied to life as a student, life as a teacher and an employee. So that's the cool part about this great game, is that everything you learn can transcend just the game itself. I'm very happy you mentioned junior high school, because we're going to go to that junior high school, Sandusky Intermediate School. Mr. Crace is there. We're going to have them ask our first question today. So Ryan, whenever you're ready, go ahead. I asked you to go ahead and unmute your microphones there. Go ahead whenever you're ready. Have a student come up and ask your question.
All right. Well, we're at Orlando. You didn't make it to this school, actually. This is our new one, but you'll have to definitely come visit us sometime for sure and check it out.
Absolutely.
Tell them your name and ask them your question.
My name is Larissa. Were you ever scared when you played a game?
Sorry, I can't. Can you repeat that question?
Were you ever scared when you stepped on the field?
Was I ever scared? I think there's a certain type of I think anytime you step on a game in a game or at any level, I think there's a certain nervous energy. I probably wouldn't say scared, but there is a nervous energy just kind of going into a game, going into a battle, knowing that you're prepared. I think everybody kind of get that feeling when the adrenaline starts to pump. But I wouldn't say scared, just a little nervous energy that you have to play with that edge and go out and compete and do those things. I think that's natural for athletes or football players to have that feeling when they're stepping on the field.
Yeah, and kind of in line with that, we got a question from a group we have watching who can only use the chat function to ask questions. And this is from Ryan, who goes to West Oak. He wanted to know, what did it feel like to play in the NFL? And you talk about that nervous energy. Is that something that stays with you your entire career? Or after that first snap, all the butterflies are gone and it just becomes, everyday life, every Sunday stepping on the field?
You know what? I think it's every game. Every time you go out and compete, you're going to feel some kind of nervous energy. And to his first question, to play in the National Football League, it was a complete dream come true for me. Throughout, I've always loved the game of football through youth, junior high and high school. And for me, it was and actually we're in draft season. The draft is today. For me to be drafted into the NFL and hear the commissioner call my name, at that point, it was a dream come true. And everything I had worked hard for throughout my entire, adolescence really came to the forefront there, and overcome by emotions and overcome but with joy that I accomplished one of my goals of being in the National Football League.
And, you mentioned the draft. I'm sure we'll touch on it here later in the program, but you mentioned that part, getting your name called, going up on stage, shaking the commissioner's hands, taking that stereotypical picture with the number 1 jersey on stage. You have the experience. You got to go through that as somebody coming out of Ohio State going into the NFL. There are going to be guys tonight that get to have that same experience as you did, right here in Northeast Ohio. So if you were sitting down in a room with maybe Trevor Lawrence right now, and he asked you, what am I going to feel? What am I going to expect? What would your answer to Trevor be?
Well, I think he'll be overcome with joy to be selected with the number 1 pick, but he's living out his dream, I'm sure. Anytime, you're selected number 1, there's a tremendous feel of satisfaction and accomplishments. but what young players need to understand coming into the league, that to play in the National Football League, it really is a privilege. And now it is your job, and you have to go out and perform and do everything that you've done to get to that point. But now you have to elevate it, and you have to become, obviously you're an adult. You're going against adult grown men every week in and week out. So I think that's the importance. Go in, work extremely hard, and earn the respect of your teammates.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think that's, and again, that's something that not only does the first pick have to worry about, Mr. Irrelevant has to be worried about the exact same things. Or if you're an undrafted free agent, anything like that. Doing our research here, you're looking through it, and your draft in 1997, the New York Jets actually held that number 1 pick until the Rams traded for it the day before. When the Rams made that move, did you expect that they were coming up to get you, or were you just as surprised to hear your name called number 1 overall, no matter, which team was up there?
No, you know what? I met with Bill Parcells, who was the head coach of the New York Jets at the time, and he honestly had no idea what he would do with that pick. Probably a week before the draft, when the St. Louis Rams made that trade with the New York Jets, Dick Vermeil called me and said, "Hey, we're going to take you with the number 1 pick." Now, I will say I did get a little nervous because at the draft, you get about 15 minutes to select their pick. And I'm like, hey, Coach Vermeil called me last week and said he's going to select me. But about the 12-minute mark, I think he had me sweating a little bit. I didn't know if they were trying to work on a trade or they decided to go in a different route. So, but I was excited when they called my name, and to go play in St. Louis with the Rams was an awesome feeling for me.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go back out to our schools now. We're going to go out to Fairport Harbor. We got Coach Ruff there with some of his students, his players. So I'm going to ask him to go ahead and unmute his microphone, and we're going to have our students there ask our next question. So whenever you're ready there, Coach Ruff, go ahead and have your mic unmuted and have your student ask a question.
Hi, I'm Will Fazekas from Fairport Harbor, and I was just wondering, what was the most...
We can still hear you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, sorry. What was the most influential thing you learned from a player like Kurt Warner or Marshall Faulk?
Wow. I think the biggest thing I've learned from guys, like for me, I think Marshall Faulk, for example, was probably one of the most intelligent players I've ever played with. For a running back to know all 5 positions up front, and know exactly what we were doing on every play, and studied how I blocked and every other lineman that was in front of him. I've learned, obviously the studied the game the way Marshall approached the game was phenomenal, and just his knowledge of our offense and how we ran that offense. For Kurt is such a good guy. Just his faith, everything that he believes in, his leadership, to come from where he came from, and everybody kind of knows his story, from bagging groceries to being an NFL Hall of Famer, is really remarkable, considering. And we talk about hard work, dedication, commitment. For a guy like that to be there, you kind of feed off his energy and his leadership.
Obviously, both now current teammates here in Canton, Ohio with you as members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right, we're going to go out to Mr. Cooper's class now, Westfield High School. So whenever you're ready there, Mr. Cooper, go ahead and unmute your microphone and have a student ready there to ask your question.
Hi, I'm Issa Seeger from Westfield High School, and my question is, what is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome in your entire career?
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of challenges to kind of overcome. For me, was probably later on in my career. I had tore my tricep. Mid-season 2007. And obviously that was the first time I had a major injury where I had to go on the IR list. And then I came back the next year, first game, and I tore my rotator cuff and labrum, first game. And obviously I thought my career was over at that point. I was year 11 at that time. And just to be hit with those injuries back to back was really, it really affected me because for the first time in my life, I didn't make a decision on whether I could play or not. My body dictated whether I went on the field and played football. And that was hard for me to overcome. No matter how hard I rehabbed to come back and play, that next year was always a challenge and probably one of the more difficult things I had to deal with in my playing career.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go out to Malvern Elementary School right here in Northeast Ohio for our next question. So whenever you're ready there, go ahead, unmute your microphone and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Gabby from elementary school, and our question is, who's your favorite person to pancake on the field?
I got to be honest.
Great question.
A great question, right? So not a lot of guys stand out, but there's one guy, I can't even think of his name now. That's how, I don't like those guys.
Is that just because there were so many of them?
Yeah, there were so many of them, but there was one guy in particular that I really liked. He played for Notre Dame, and all week he was in the media and he's talking about how he's never been pancaked and Orlando will never pancake him. So we had a chance to play Notre Dame while I was at Ohio State, and let's say that was gratifying. There was a little trash talking after he got flattened, and that was some extra motivation for me, because he was saying he'd never been pancaked and I wouldn't do it. So I took that upon my challenge and went out and that pancake felt really good.
I bet it did. And, you speak of that, obviously that's, going through college, that's what you were known for, your pancake there as an offensive lineman. A lot of photos out there with you with aprons on, cooking some pancakes in the morning. But, with that being said, I mentioned at the beginning, part of our mission here is to honor the heroes of the game like yourself and to preserve the history. At our core, we're a museum here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So what better way to showcase that museum to do a little deep dive into our archives? And I can tell you that there might be some pancake related memorabilia that everybody gets to see here in a few seconds. So I'm going to turn things over to a great teammate of ours here, Mr. John Kendall. So John, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thanks, Jake. This is John Kendall, Director of Archives and Football Information here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And right now we're standing in the Ralph Wilson Jr. Pro Football Research and Preservation Center. And this is where we house over 40 million pages of documents, 6 million photographic images, and downstairs we have about 30,000 artifacts related not just to the history of the game, but really every player, coach, and administrator who built the game to what it is today. And Orlando, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for always being so great to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and for all you've done for the game throughout your time here with us. You've donated a lot of artifacts and documents. And I pulled a few just related to your career, just a sampling of some of the things that we preserve here to tell the story of your career. But you can see here photos from your career here, both with Ohio State as a collegiate and then into the NFL. And there you are holding up that #1 overall pick jersey there with the Rams hat. Actually pulled your game program from the first game start. Wow. And that was against Oakland, at Oakland there. This is your rookie season media guide bio here. And there you are, photo with showing your rookie class.
Oh, wow.
And then, a lot of newspaper articles related to your career. I love some of the headlines here. They're always very clever. These media members, pace won't waffle. It's always a good one. And then, this here is your one of your scouting reports here. And this was presented through the National Football League. Talks about, what a great prospect you were, obviously being drafted #1 overall. You're one of just 15 guys that have been drafted #1 overall and made it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So a very select company, not only to be a #1 overall pick, but then make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as well. But when you were talking about, who was the most gratifying to Pancake, it made me think of this scouting report because somewhere down here, and I'm going to lose it now because I'm reading it upside down, but it talks about how you pancake Simeon Rice, who was an All-American, 8 times in a game. I mean, that's got to be some type of record or something. And I know Simeon probably doesn't want me to talk about that, but 8 times in one game, that's incredible. And then last but not least here, I know that Ohio State really rallied around you and creating that campaign to try to get you to win the Heisman Trophy, which we all here feel like you definitely should have. But this was something that you donated to us to preserve. But the commercial of you wearing the apron and cooking pancakes, this was something that the Buckeyes produced to disseminate out there. So, once again, we appreciate all you've done for the game, all you do for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the type of man and character that you represent. My question for you would be, being a highly touted pick and going to the Rams in '97, was there a teammate or somebody in the rookie class that you leaned on to help guide you, or maybe that took you under their wing and helped you develop as not only a player on the field, but also off the field?
You know what? To be honest with you, he's one of my favorite teammates. I hate to say the favorite because I got a lot of great teammates. Isaac Bruce for me, who's a Hall of Famer. Just the way he patterned, the way he went about his business, the professionalism, how hard he worked, his dedication to the game, his faith, all those things. His character, all those things that he's not a talkative guy, but once, obviously I watched the way he worked very quietly and what made him successful and all those things. And we were locker mates. So I got a close up view of, obviously the way he worked and the way he carried himself as a professional football player. So I would say he was probably one of the most influential just by the way he worked and carried himself.
That's fantastic, and we look forward to honoring Isaac, this year, this August. So now you're not only teammates with the Rams, but now you're teammates forever here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, John. Thanks for giving us an insight there to our archives. And I tell you, all of our viewers today, if you come here and visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we got a lot of visitors out there today who are in town to see the NFL draft. You aren't going to get to go behind the scenes. Now, Orlando, he'll probably get to go behind the scenes to see some of that stuff. He has a little more special access than some normal visitors, but don't take that for granted. A lot of people don't get to see, the cool stuff that we have on display here in Canton, Ohio. And that's kind of one of the things I touch on. Orlando, you have the unique kind of perspective on being from not Northeast Ohio, but being from Ohio and seeing the Pro Football Hall of Fame here in Canton, being a Buckeye in Columbus, and now looking at the NFL draft in Cleveland this weekend. So being from Ohio, what does the game of football mean for the state, the area, and what is it like to have a premier college program, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and then big events being celebrated, right here, all within the same state?
I've often, football started here in Ohio. So, obviously growing up as a kid, football was life for us. To play high school football Friday nights. I was fortunate enough to play my collegiate football here at The Ohio State University. And then to cap it off all back here at Canton is phenomenal. I say some of the best fans in the world, most knowledgeable fans in the world, right here in the state of Ohio, where there's great football, through high school on up. It really provided me with a strong foundation of the game, technique, everything that probably made me successful throughout my career. So, I'm a little biased because I am from Ohio, but this is a special place for football, and I'm so happy to not only have the Hall of Fame here, the draft here this weekend. There's so many great events that's going to take place, but football is special here in Ohio, and people really, really love the game here.
I would say I'm probably biased in saying this as well, but I agree 100% with you that the game of football at all levels, it's not just professional or college. It's, McKinley Massillon, one of the greatest rivalries in high school sports, some say in all of sports, are right here, literally right here in our backyard in Canton, Ohio. We've talked about a little bit now, your career at Ohio State, getting drafted into the NFL. And one question, we always kind of like to touch on is, what was your welcome to the NFL moment? Everybody kind of has that moment where they kind of had to step back and realize it's like, all right, I'm here, I made it. What was that moment for you, after you were drafted by the Rams?
I think probably on the field is probably one of the times I probably faced Bruce Smith, who's another Hall of Famer. And I had to watch them throughout. And I'm like, I'm blocking this guy. I'm blocking him now. And I'm like, man, this is Bruce Smith, man. This is welcome to the NFL. It's real. It's serious now. When you see a guy that you watch play and play really well, against so many other tackles. So I was excited, kind of a little, I was pumped up and had nervous energy I talked about before, but still you're like, man, this is Bruce Smith, man, and I'm about to go against. So really excited. That was my welcome. Hey, hey rookie, welcome to the NFL moment that, obviously you kind of respect what he's done in the game, but then you got to go out and play against him too. So I was fired up and I played well against him. So.
Awesome. Well, we're going to dive back into our schools, and I'm looking in the chat here. We got another question from our students at West Oak. And Salim wants to know, or excuse me, let me go. I got the wrong one. All right. Zach has a question. He goes, what were your feelings when you found out that you were going to be inducted and enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Pure joy. Nothing else like it. Whenever, Dave Baker, he knocks on that door and he tells you that, that I've made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All the emotions. Immediately, I go back to my hometown of Sandusky, Ohio, and just think about everything that happened, everything that transpired, the difficult times as a youth throughout college, all the challenges, the people that helped me throughout. So it was really, it's really a dream come true. It's really icing on top of a cake of a what I consider a really good professional career.
I would say it's a pretty good way to wrap up a football career, getting that Gold jacket and the bronze bust that I have behind me right here. Next question we're gonna go back out to Sandusky, Mr. Crace's class there for our next question. So whenever you're ready there, go ahead and have your students step up to the microphone and ask their question. All right, looks like we got one. So I'm like, oh, very dapper looking.
He is dapper. Yes, he is.
I got bow tie.
Nice bow tie.
It's purple.
All right, so tell me your name.
My name is King. A roller coaster, Cedar Point.
My favorite roller coaster?
Yeah, that's what he wants to know.
I got it. Look, when I was your age, I used to ride them all, but then I grew up and I got too tall to fit in most of them. I always go back to like the classic. I love the Iron Dragon. Oh, I'm old school now. Iron Dragon, the Blue Streak is still, I think it's still standing. Maybe you can help me out with that. One of my favorites. But I think the Magnum. There's so many old school. I hadn't rode many of the new ones yet, but being at Cedar Point was probably one of the joys of my life. I was over there all the time during the summer as a kid, riding all kinds of rides, and enjoying the theme park. So the ones that I don't even know if I can fit in any right now, but I know they keep making new ones and my kids really enjoy them. So. But yeah, I think the old school ones are the ones I remember most, the Blue Streak and some of the Iron Dragon and those things and the old fashioned cars and those things. So, but I really enjoy all the rides at Cedar Point.
Well, I tell you what, we've talked about football in Ohio. We really got it all here. Whatever you're looking for, Ohio's probably got a good selection, especially when it comes to the weather, because we have seen it all here in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to go back out to Fairport Harbor and Coach Ruff there for our next question. So whenever you're ready there, Coach, go ahead and have the microphone unmuted and ask your question.
Hello.
All right, there you are.
Hello, my name is Joshua Parsons. I'm Fairport. Who is your inspiration to start playing football?
Oh wow, there's so many. For me, my uncle probably was the first guy, and for us, being a Sandusky, we couldn't wait to be a Sandusky Blue Streak player on that varsity team. So I remember watching him play, going to games, watching him. My cousin, everybody in my family played varsity football at Sandusky High, and I couldn't wait. We couldn't wait. We used to hit their pads going out. So the first inspiration, probably the first person to put a ball in my hand was probably my uncle. My cousin, who played at Bowling Green, inspired me to play college football. And then, obviously, as a kid, I'm dreaming of playing in the National Football League. But really, just really a couple men in my family who love the game of football really inspired me to go out and play. Obviously, I was a big kid, so they figured it was a natural fit for me to go out and play the game. So, but they first put the ball in my hand, and we played the neighborhood and had a ball. So, and then the rest is history after that. So,
I would say so. Like you said, kind of come full circle to end up right back here in Canton, Ohio. And you might have heard there in the intro video, everybody got tuned in that, in part of your enshrinement speech, you mentioned coming here to the Hall of Fame. And in the 90s, you're a high school athlete, great basketball player as well. Came down here to Canton to play the touted McKinley Bulldogs. And before the game, your team got to tour the Hall of Fame. And was it that moment that you realized, like, this is the pinnacle of a football career, and this is where I want to end up? And was there any motivation behind that, or is this just, hey, I'm going to be here, I'm going to soak all this greatness in, when I'm walking around, these hallowed halls here in Canton?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool just to see, obviously the history of the game. And like most kids that go here, that come here, probably they dream big. And I was like no other. I was here, and I love the game of football, and I wanted to be a Hall of Famer. And obviously, 27 years later, I believe, to sit on that stage and actually get a gold jacket, a ring, and a bronze bust was a special day for me. To your point, just bringing everything full circle and really living out a dream that really just started, obviously with a visit to the Hall of Fame and really planting that seed to wanting to become a Hall of Famer and all those great things. So I challenge all you kids out there to always, no matter how big the dreams are, to continue to dream as big as you like. I know I did at a very early age, and I worked my butt off, but obviously my dream came true.
And part of your journey, and I'm sure you've talked about it, endless amounts of times, part of, your career was being part of one of the most high-powered offenses, in NFL history, the greatest show on turf. So, there's all these different teams that have these great nicknames, the Purple People Eaters, the no-name defense, and the greatest show on turf. So when it comes to that, the media starts touting a team like yours as such a high-powered offense. Is there pressure that comes with that? Or is it just, we have to go out there every Sunday and do a job just like everybody else?
Yeah, it was really no pressure from the outside sources. We love that style of play. We wanted to score fast and make exciting plays, and we had the skill set to do it. When you're talking about Marshall Faulk, Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, all those great players on offense that made the game look easy. What people don't see is the process behind it, the days at work that we had to put our offense on display on the field. So, obviously, those are great players. We love that style. We put pressure on ourselves to outdo ourselves week in and week out. So it was an exciting brand of football. I'm glad I was a part of it. Yeah, so, and I'm glad they're still talking about it today because we left our mark on the National Football League.
You see a lot of, the game, you kind of were way ahead of your time. The game today resembles a lot of that same offensive style that you and your Rams teammates played. And it's always comparing it to the greatest show on turf and that great Rams team. And part of that journey with that team was culminating in a Super Bowl win. And here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it's our job, like we said, to preserve the history. So not only do we preserve the history of all these individuals, but big moments as well. And what's the biggest moment every NFL season? It's the Super Bowl. So I've got Nathan Martin, the youth and education coordinator, who's live in our Super Bowl gallery in front of something that might look a little familiar to Orlando Pace. So Nathan, you there?
Yeah, Jake, thank you so much. And like Jake was saying, guys, I'm in the Lamar Hunt Super Bowl gallery, and it's here where we house artifacts from the biggest game every single season, right? And I'm around some artifacts that, Orlando talked about people being inspired when they come here. If you're a kid and you want to play football, you want that Lombardi trophy, or you want one of these Super Bowl rings. And you can see how the rings have changed through the years. Mr. Pace, Orlando Pace, was lucky enough to play in 2 Super Bowls with the Rams, and they won Super Bowl 34. You guys can see this ring right here. It's a replica of Kurt Warner, the quarterback's ring. 10-karat yellow gold, 157 diamonds. That is a lot of diamonds. But, a question about this, when we think about your career, and you mentioned how people still are talking about the greatest show on turf. And, part of the reason is because you won this Super Bowl ring. But what are your memories of Super Bowl 34 and lifting that Lombardi trophy and being a Super Bowl champion?
Obviously, it was an exciting game. Obviously playing the Tennessee Titans with Steve McNair and Eddie George. And I remember coming out in that first half, we didn't score. I mean, we kicked field goals instead of touchdowns. And then the second half, it seemed like, Steve McNair and Eddie George just got stronger in the fourth quarter. That game was an exciting game to play in. It came down to a last play on the goal line. I'm on the sideline. I don't know if Dyson got in. I know our linebacker, Mike Jones, made an incredible play. But once the ref and the time went down to 0, I knew we were world champions. So for a pro football player to win a Super Bowl, there's no other joy during your playing career. We all dream about it. We've all last second Super Bowl winning plays, and to be a part of a game that was that exciting and to come out with a victory, there's no better feeling.
Yeah, I would have to, echo that. Actually, in this gallery, we regularly play highlights from the Super Bowl, and that's one of those highlights. And you can hear the announcer, he came up 1 yard short, and that is why you are a Super Bowl champion, you and your teammates there from Super Bowl 34. But, definitely something that I'm sure you'll always remember, and then football fans, Rams fans will always remember as well. But I'm going to send it back to Jake for some more questions to wrap up this program.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. Yes, and we're going to throw it back out directly to our schools. We're going to go to Mr. Cooper's class there at Westfield for our next question. So whenever you're ready there, Mr. Cooper, go ahead and got your camera flipped on, and go ahead and unmute your microphone and ask next question.
What was your favorite play to run?
My favorite play to run?
That's it. Yep.
Yes.
Oh, nice. It probably was I know there's a running play, a power play where I got a chance to pull around and hit a linebacker and hopefully pancake a linebacker. So it was like a 60 power, just kind of roll around, big guy on a little guy and try to create a hole for that running back to run in space. So that's probably one of my favorite plays. Anytime you can get a big guy on a little guy out in space and create a lane for the running back, it's always – I think that's every offensive lineman's dream play.
So coach wasn't lining up at fullback or running tackle end arounds to give you the ball a little bit throughout your career, like you see a lot of teams doing today?
I know. I lobbied for that play for years. We never put it in the game plan. They wanted me to block every play, but I wanted to be a tight end or receiver or a fullback or something, just so I can score the ball. But Coach Martz was not having it.
And I think that's cool. You mentioned, and that's just one small example, one small story on, you feel that comfortability, that level to approach the coach and, kind of joke around a little bit. We've talked about, the team being nicknamed the greatest show on turf and how close your team actually is. How important is that for an NFL organization when their team is that close and get along so well? And does it truly, equal results on the field?
Oh, absolutely. The year we won the Super Bowl, we hung out off the field all the time. We genuinely liked each other. Even today, we're on a group chat. We constantly, we still talk to each other. We still love each other. We really appreciate the work that we put in. So I think it's important for guys to actually like each other in order to have success. That's the chemistry of a team is important, and it's hard to have that chemistry if you don't like each other. So that was one of the key factors to us having success, having fun on the field, because we actually enjoyed each other.
All right, we're going to go back out to our schools now, back to Malvern Elementary School for our next question. So whenever you're ready there, go ahead and have a student grab the microphone there, unmute yourself, and ask your question.
Hey, my name is Brendan Mitchell from Malvern Elementary. My question is, what charities or organizations do you support?
Good question.
Great question. Great question. One of the organizations that I support is Our Little Haven in St. Louis. It's a I should say they adopt kids that it's unfortunate youth, and they adopt them and put them in great homes where they could thrive and be successful in life. One of those things I've probably been a part of since my rookie year in St. Louis. So, and then there's other foundations. My wife and I are starting it's an educational foundation to help at-risk youth, obviously be able to afford college and go to universities that they otherwise wouldn't be able to go to. So, but for me, my focus is education. It's been for our family foundation is always to help provide support for those less fortunate.
All great charities. I think that's one reason we're super excited to have you as part of this program today and continually to give back to students, education throughout the entire country. Looking back on your career, and I think this question can be taken either on or off the field. Is there somebody that had a huge impact and influence on your life? And what was it about that person? What did they do to, kind of leave that special mark on your life, whether you were a middle schooler or in your 10th year in the NFL?
I think throughout my career, there's so many different people that helped me become successful. I think number one, the first person is my mother. Just her work ethic, everything she showed me as a kid. You see I saw how hard she worked and her dedication to her craft and her sacrifice, which was important for me to really help me become successful, help me become a better young man. Growing up in a single parent home, she was the mother and the father, and she really helped me and supported me throughout my I guess still supporting me throughout my life. So she's probably the biggest influence on my life. Influence on my life. In terms of sports, I've been fortunate enough to have a couple coaches that's aided me. I know Coach Jim Hannafin, who was my offensive line coach, who really taught me the game of football on a professional level. Dick Vermeil was a huge inspiration in my life, just because the way he cared about his players. He showed that compassion for his players that really meant something. It really had guys like myself go out and play really hard for him because you could tell he genuinely loved his players. So those are three people off the top, both off the field and on the field that really help influence, inspire, and help build character.
And I think and it's cool that, you kind of gave the off the field example and the on the field because, obviously, everybody kind of automatically separates the two, but I'm sure that there are lessons that your mom taught you that you learned on the field. And I'm sure that there's lessons that your coaches taught you that you use off the field. And again, one of the cool things about the game of football. So, we've talked a lot about your career, the past, the present, the future of your career, but I want to kind of look at the game of football today that we're watching on TV? And obviously the game has changed since you had played it. But if you had to look at the game, is there a player that you would say plays most like you, or you see kind of the same characteristics and traits that you had in your career that's currently in the league today?
Wow, there's so many guys in terms of offensive tackles. Trent Williams is a really good player that's playing at a high level. I think he's with San Francisco. But just see how athletic he is, how he moves. I'm a big fan of his and how he plays the game. I think there's a kid. I can't now you draw a blank, but there's so many different kids that play really well. As you have me thinking, you kind of put me on the spot. So I'm thinking of guys that are playing well and athletic and they can run. And the game has changed so much because now it becomes a passing game. So for me, offensive tackles, it's important for those guys to move and still be physical at the same time. And there's quite a few guys that can still do that in the league.
I think it's almost a good thing that you can't think of anybody, because that means that there's so much talent, in the game today on both ends of the offensive line. So, and there's continually going to be more and more, as we, go down the road. We're kind of winding down time here. I got a couple more questions I want to ask. I'm going to do it a little different order than I normally do. So the next question is the one we usually wrap up with. We've talked a lot about the values and how they've impacted your life on and off the field, people who've influenced your life, mentors, that kind of took you under their wing. If there's one thing that you could leave everybody with today, whether they're a student, a teacher, an NFL fan, somebody who happened to walk by you, in our presentation center today, what is one piece of advice that you want somebody, to take away from the program today?
Wow. I can tell you, in terms of your challenges in life, everybody's going through roadblocks, whatever you may be experiencing that seems like very difficult times. You can still be successful in whatever you do. Don't let anybody tell you you can't be whatever you dream to be. As long as you work hard, have the commitment, the dedication, all those core values in your life, work extremely hard to accomplish those values and stay the task, because there are going to be some challenges in terms of there's going to be some friends, some people that may not always be good for you or travel down a road path or do some negative things in your life. But if you have that one goal in mind that you want to be successful, whatever it might be, you could say, I want to be the president of the United States. You could accomplish those goals if you stay the task and stay committed to the process, which is important. No matter, and there'll be roadblocks, trust me, there will be. We've all dealt with them and we'll continue to deal with them, but you have to stay focused and continue to move forward in life.
I think that's great advice, and I hope everybody was scribbling notes there, taking those down, to leave the program with today. All right, so, last thing we want to wrap up with, we've mentioned it before, as everybody knows, tonight, first round of the NFL draft right here in Northeast Ohio, in Cleveland. Happy to have you in town. Super excited you were able to come down to Canton. For everybody tuning in, this is the first time we've actually got to do a program. Now, I wish I was able to be in the same room with you, but, just to be as safe as we can, we're in separate rooms in the building. But the first time in almost a year and a half, we've been able to have a Hall of Famer here for one of our Heart of a Hall of Famer programs. So first and foremost, thank you so much for giving the time to make the drive down to Canton today. But with the first round of the NFL draft tonight, just any thoughts you have on it, something you're looking for, maybe a player or two you've kind of picked out as, this might be a game changer, whether it's an offensive lineman, offense, defense, whatever it might be, just some overall thoughts and what we're expecting to see as fans of the game tonight.
I'm excited. As you know, I'm a Buckeye, so I always follow my Buckeyes. I love to see where Justin Fields is going. I think he's been, people have been projecting him all over the place, and I respect his season that he had last year. I thought he had a phenomenal season. I think he's going to be an awesome pro. So really excited to see where he goes and how he develops, and the rest of the Buckeyes is going to be drafted tonight and this weekend, just to kind of see where they go and how they end up. I kind of follow their career, not only in college, but I'll follow them in the NFL, just see how well they're doing. So really pulling for those guys tonight. Hopefully they go exactly where they want to go and have success moving forward.
As a fellow Buckeye fan, I can say That's a great answer. Looking forward to seeing how the Buckeyes, fall tonight, whether there's one picked or there's three picked. There's going to be a lot of the Ohio State universities being called out this weekend for sure. So with that, we're going to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series powered by Extreme Networks. Today featuring class of 2016 member Orlando Pace. Orlando, as I said, thank you so much for giving time out of your busy schedule, to make the drive down here to Canton and be a part of the program. We greatly appreciate it. As our president, CEO here, David Baker, says, thanks for everything you've done for the game of football, which you've, done so much. Obviously, the game of football wouldn't be like it is today without your great influence. So thank you for that. And truly, thank you for everything you've done for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame and will continue to do as we move down the road. So again, thank you so much for making the trip down and being part of the program today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And to all of our students, all of our classes who tuned in, thank you so much for being a part today. All of our viewers on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. And we hope to have you back here in Canton, Ohio to view these programs in person here, hopefully very, very soon. So with that, for myself, Nathan, John, Jerry, Kara, Michelle, Hayden, all of our staff here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time for our Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series powered by Extreme Networks. Thank you, everybody.